President Williamson, Chancellor Martin, John Burke, who had the idea, university leadership, faculty, honored guests, proud parents, friends, above all, graduating class of 2015, thank you for inviting me to celebrate with you today. I'd like to share with you today 4 stories from my life. These are stories that in many ways shaped me personally, but they also could have an impact on yours. I was born and raised in Argentina. My parents were Austrian Jews rescued at the last minute from Nazism. My father's last year in school was in La Paz, Bolivia, when he was 12 years old. My father was a self-made man who did very well for himself. He is a successful entrepreneur with sharp mind, lots of common sense and great humor. I grew up in a beautiful home with a garden and a swimming pool. There was absolutely nothing I missed as a child. I graduated early from high school at a time when Argentina was going through significant political turmoil. I had long hair and dreamed of new horizons. I put on a backpack, I headed to Europe, and for the next 12 months I hitchhiked my way from one country to the next. In October of that year, it was 1975, my father met me in Amsterdam. As we were walking down the canals, I told him very excitedly that I had obtained a job in the Netherlands and that I would be staying there. "What's your job?" my dad asked. "Cleaning toilets in the youth hostel," I said. "Well," my father said, "let me tell you what'll happen next. You will clean toilets for a while, and then someone at the hostel will discover that you speak a few languages, so they'll put you at the reception. Once there, people will notice that you're not bad at math, so they'll have you work on the hostel's finances. After that, they might put you in charge of the hostel itself, and after that, who knows, maybe one day you might run the Dutch Youth Hostel Association, and after all of that, one day you'll be like me." "That doesn't sound too bad," I said to my father, who I greatly admired. "I mean," he said, "you'll be a well-off man living in a nice house with plenty of money and no education." Then my father gave me a life lesson on what education is. It isn't money, it isn't social standing. It's the kind of person you become. A good education, as you have had, spikes your curiosity. It teaches you how to interact with others. It helps you listen and learn from those around you. It broadens your horizons. It enriches you and fills your life with meaning. So my message to you is, measure your life not in the dollars and cents you'll be making, but in what kind of a person you'll become. And here, contact with your university in the years to come will be critical. You had the privilege of being here, a privilege that very few had. Stay in touch with the friends you've made. Stay in touch with professors. Continue to build on the learning you've achieved. It's the best way to live a happy and fulfilled life. In the spring of 1982, I was finishing my MBA, and I had no clue what to do with myself. I was one of the very few students who had gone directly from college to business school with no significant prior business experience. Something made me uncomfortable with going the way most of my fellow classmates were going, into investment banking or consulting. So, a few months after graduation, I put on a pile all the cases that I had worked on through my 2 years at business school. Believe me, it was a big pile, and in those days, it was all in paper. And I selected those that I had really enjoyed. This turned out to be a very small pile, actually. In fact, there were only 7 cases. The cases were Dunkin' Donuts, Smucker's Ketchup, Tide detergents. In fact, all 7 cases were about consumer products. So now I knew what I wanted to do, work in consumer products. I contacted Procter & Gamble and was offered a job in Cincinnati, their global headquarters. I said to myself, going to live in Ohio is a tough punishment for a 25-year-old, but if it's the price to pay to enter the business world, then why not? A few weeks before my job was about to start, I received a call from my new employer. It was the President International himself. He said that he had read my CV, that he noticed that I spoke a few languages. Would I consider working at P&G's much smaller office in Geneva, Switzerland? I said, might as well take a look. And so 2 days later, I received a plane from Boston to Geneva, New Jersey. That's how international P&G was in those days. In any event, P&G did sort out my plane ticket, and a few days later, I landed in Geneva, Switzerland, on the morning of a bright and sunny April day. I had never been to Geneva before, and my interview was in the following day. So, through a friend, I made a contact with a professor working at GATT, now OMC. The man received me in his office, which overlooked the lake and Mont Blanc. If you've ever been there, you know what I'm talking about. After a while, I asked him if we could sit somewhere else in his office. I'm losing my concentration, I said. Oh, he said, the jet lag. I said, no, the view. After my meeting, I walked back to the center of town by the lake. I visited the Vieille Ville, and I watched Hare Krishna sing their songs under the beautiful trees of the Jardin Anglais. And then here, standing in front of the very building where you are now, I took a decision. I said to myself that I would take the job at P&G and that I would stay here in this town for the rest of my life. That was 33 years ago. I'm still here. What should you remember from my story? We often build our lives around compromises. We say to ourselves that if we do this and that for a while, we'll get this and that in the future. I chose to follow a dream. It was my own dream. I trusted my instincts, and I put faith into what my heart, not my head, was telling me. I didn't think of my career. I just made the simple calculation that if you are in an environment that you love, the rest will sort itself out. If you wake up in the morning and you're happy where you are, you will be well and you'll succeed. So, my message is, happiness happens now, and it's a very, very personal choice. So choose whatever will make you happy. In this case, for me, it was a city. It could be a lifetime partner for you, or some activity you love. Follow your instincts and let your North Star guide you. If you do so, as Paulo Coelho said in The Alchemist, the entire universe will conspire to make your dreams come true. In the summer of 1989, I received a call from a renowned headhunter. Would I consider running the European business of Pizza Hut, he asked. At the time, I was 33 and the marketing director of Switzerland of Jacob Suchard, as you heard, which later became Kraft and is now called Mondelez. The challenge, salary, and responsibilities proposed by Pizza Hut were at least twice higher than what I had had at the time. I went for interviews to London, and a few days later was sent to New York to meet Wayne Calloway, at the time the charismatic CEO of PepsiCo, to which Pizza Hut belonged. Wayne received me in his huge office overlooking Central Park as we both looked at the New York skyline. He was a big man. He put his arm around me and he said, "Pedro, if you do Pizza Hut well, in 2 or 3 years, you'll be here in New York running one of our 8 global divisions. And after that, who knows, perhaps one day you'll replace me." During the next few days, one after the other of the people surrounding me gave me their advice. The world-renowned headhunter said that it was the opportunity of a lifetime. My best friend said that I should do this for a while, and after that I'd be rich and famous and retire at 40. And my dad asked, "Why haven't you yet signed?" But the truth was, I didn't feel comfortable with the people I'd met during the interviews. I couldn't see myself moving from Geneva to London, and the thought of replacing Wayne Calloway, it just brought shudders to my spine. So I said no to Pizza Hut and to a few big other corporate jobs in Geneva and other places, and started my own business. There were only 2 of us at Simko Communication at the beginning. We started with no clients, no money, no experience. We had never worked in advertising before. We set up our business in the wrong part of Switzerland, here in the city. We opened our doors the same month the recession hit. We had no holidays for the first 3 years, and it took 6 years of hard work before I was earning the base salary that Pizza Hut would have paid me, never mind their bonus. But in 2001, 10 years after its founding, our little agency in Switzerland won Switzerland's most prestigious creative prize. And 3 years after that, Saatchi & Saatchi had bought us, and we became the network's most famous agency in Europe. Most important, every single day of those 15 years that spanned my no to Pizza Hut, to Saatchi & Saatchi's Simco's top position in Europe, I woke up motivated and thrilled to take on the challenges of the day. In all those years, every single day, it felt good to go to the office and to do what I was doing. So what should you remember from this story? That there are no set or obvious careers. That you should ignore what the world out there is saying about the right or the wrong professional turn. Listen only to what that little voice inside you is saying, and you will make it much farther than if you accept what society thinks is appropriate for you. In the summer of 2008, my two sons, who were aged 14 and 16 at the time, and I decided to go trekking. The idea was to unplug all electronics and just spend time together. I asked a travel agent where I should go, and he said Ladakh. Any of you have ever been to Ladakh? Our valedictorian, who comes from India, not even you have been to Ladakh. So I'm a lucky guy. Huh? I had never been to Ladakh, and I couldn't have imagined that this strange and distant place would in so many ways change my personal and professional life. During the next 3 weeks in this remote part of India, Pablo, Nico, and I visited one village after another, and what we found really struck us. Here lived quiet, happy people, sincere, welcoming humans who possessed almost nothing, and yet were living what was obviously a very fulfilled life. In our long daily treks, our guide unveiled to us, one after the other, the insights of Buddhism. He spoke in simple terms of the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, the Buddha's insights on how the mind works, and so on. As soon as we arrived in Leh, the capital of Ladakh, I rushed to the only bookstore and I bought Buddhism for Dummies. Even before returning to Geneva, I started meditation, a practice I've carried on to this day. When I returned to the office, things changed almost overnight in the way in which I was running my business. The Buddhist notion of impermanence taught me to include a much higher dose of unpredictability into my financial forecasts, which resulted in the end in much more accuracy. The Buddha's insights on right speech helped me get my message across to others much more effectively, and meditation practice allowed me to concentrate for much longer during client presentations. Buddhist insights helped me to better understand people's behavior inside the company and outside. And soon my office began to be filled with employees seeking help in various ways, how to deal with anger, with insecurity, with frustrations, and how to work better in teams. Just before Christmas 2 years ago, my personal assistant suggested that perhaps I would like to write down some of my insights. She would distribute my manuscript to people asking for advice, and this, she said, might liberate my calendar a bit. So over Christmas, I wrote a book called Happy at Work, a book which, to my great surprise, has gotten raving reviews by several book editors and will be published this autumn. So what should you remember from Pedro's excursion to this strange place called Ladakh? That inspiration can come from the most unsuspecting places. Whether you're in business or in public life, you will become better if you're curious and open about what's happening outside your professional field. If you enjoy playing classical music, think of applying some of the learnings of what makes a great orchestra tick to your next business workshop. If you play tennis, think of ways you can apply the mental strength needed to win a match to your next meeting with management. And if you are in international relations, and I know some of you are, you may want to study the behavior of wild animals to predict the outcome of some of the political conflicts currently raging in the Ukraine, the Middle East, Africa, and even Greece. No matter what you do in the coming years, do it with an open mind and an open heart. Follow your instincts, be curious and passionate, and you will lead a happier life, professionally and personally. Thank you.